Podcast in town. I am Andrew Chunley alongside Nick Zararis, and we are Liberty Blue. We scream about the Rangers so that you can save your voice. That's how deeply we care about you, and we appreciate that you've joined us for the ride. This is episode 42, live on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Full video will be up on our YouTube page at Liberty Blue Podcast, and the audio version will be available wherever you get your podcasts. Search Liberty Blue on your podcast platform, and it should be there. Give the show that shiny and illustrious 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, et cetera, helps the show way more than you think it does. Today's show is about the most recent few games that they played, why the Hurricanes always seem to just not have a great time against the Rangers, the big matchup against the Devils coming up this week, and a whole lot more. Well, Nick, a loss to the Hurricanes aside, it's a pretty solid week, I gotta say.
Yeah, no, you're starting to see the picture come into focus now. We talked about it last week that the three games building up to that, the two against Pittsburgh, the one against Nashville, that was the first time you really saw what the Rangers are trying to be. And you saw it get refined a little bit more. The Tuesday game against Carolina, they didn't look great. They didn't get settled in early enough in that game, where the Rangers are good at playing from behind because that's typically when other teams are going to be more passive offensively. They're going to be more willing to concede and just play defense. And, the more you're playing defense, the harder it is to eventually get out of that funk. It's why the Rangers were able to come back on Thursday. It's why they were able to come back on Saturday. In those open-ended back and forth games, the Rangers' high-end talent is going to be able to make a difference. And it's one of the things as to why Carolina has struggled against the Rangers. And I got some really good stats explaining kind of just how ridiculous it is that the Rangers find ways to win against Carolina. But yeah, everything is slowly but surely starting to come together. Less than ideal that you lose Lindgren after one game coming back from IR. We're going to talk about that too. Less than ideal there, but for all intents and purposes, other than Gallant throwing the lines in a blender a couple times over the last couple of days, just to try and find something in those games where they got slow starts, there's not a whole lot here. We're in a holding pattern now. There's 9 games to go. Yeah, 9 games to go. They're 4 points back at the second spot in the division. They're in a holding pattern. Try and pass the Devils. Maybe Carolina falls off a little bit more down the stretch here. Carolina's got a rough stretch of games. They've got the Leafs. They've got the Bruins. That's really it. We're in the holding pattern now. Just get to the playoffs. No more injuries, please.
Yeah, I would like to just see the Rangers play a full 60 minutes more frequently. If you take a look at their last 3 games, and they won 2 of them, and I'm not, it's I guess it's inside baseball at this point, but like the Rangers really should have won that game against Carolina, the first one at home. They had a lead in the third period. They blew that one. They played a good game for the most part, right? You watch if you watch the game and you look at the micro stats, or if you use the eye test, whichever one you want to associate your experience with the game with, the Rangers played a solid game for a good portion of that. But they didn't play a full 60, and Carolina took advantage of that, and they won the third period and won the game. Against the rematch, the Hurricanes were skating circles on the Rangers in the first period, but they weathered the storm and they found the opportunities where Carolina gave to them, and they managed to score more goals than the Hurricanes, and then that was the game. Florida, for like the first half of the game, it was all Florida. It was all Panthers, and you could see how desperate they were to get to a playoff spot, and the Rangers are really not playing for a whole lot right now. So they're like, I can understand why the Rangers kind of at certain aspects in certain points of the game, or certain, maybe against tomorrow, they might lay an egg. Hopefully they don't against Columbus, but there are times where they look like they are just ready for the playoffs. Like they always want to win the game. Sure. I'm not saying they purposely want to lose the game, but like the effort just isn't there comparatively to what they could possibly be and what they have shown they could play at certain points. So I just want to see more consistent 60-minute efforts from this team. Is that too much to ask for, Nick?
Tiny addendum to that. I think it's a matter of playing in a way that has an emphasis on detail, because so much of the way the Rangers want to play is predicated upon extremely difficult plays. Those long stretch passes out of their own zone, the swing passes through the neutral zone that let somebody gain speed to go through and gain the zone with speed, and then the cross seam pass in the offensive zone from one hash to the other where you're setting up the one timer, you're getting the goalie moving left to right. So much of the Rangers' preferred style of play is rooted in that attention to detail. It means, are defensemen passing guys off properly, and are they letting the other team shoot from areas that are just going to allow our goalie to make a clean save, our defenseman to recover it, break out, go the other way with speed, gain the offensive zone with speed, and get a shot on goal within 2-3 seconds of entering the zone. All of that takes so many little details to go right. It's not as simple as, say, the way the Hurricanes play, where it's constant motion. The puck's always going forward. It's always going forward. And then once it's in the offensive zone, on the net, on the net, on the net. It doesn't matter where it's from, if there's traffic in front or not, just get it on the net, get it on the net, win the board battles, keep the cycle prolonged. Because Carolina knows they don't have the finishing talent for those high-end plays. They
especially
can't
without
execute.
Svetch.
Yeah, without Svechnikov, yeah. Aho is a really good player. Really,
Sure.
really good player. He's not a raw finisher. He doesn't have the shooting talent of someone like even a Zibanejad, who pretty good shooter. Zibanejad's one of the better shooters in the NHL. He doesn't have that level
When
of
he
shooting
shoots,
talent.
because he doesn't like to
Andrew,
do that.
I know you read what I wrote today. Zibanejad
Yes.
shoots more than he passes. Anecdotally, it does not feel like that, but he does. He contributes more shots per 60 than assists that lead to shots. I'm telling you. The numbers bear that out.
It just feels that way because he
Anecdotally,
passes,
it does.
because like there's been so many times throughout the course of this season and past seasons where he might, over the course of 82 games shoot a lot, but when there's so many instances where he's in a high danger opportunity and instead of putting the puck on it, he passes. That's the most frustrating aspect of all of this, is that like he can shoot the puck a lot. I'm not saying he never shoots the puck, but like there's so many situations where everybody collectively is screaming at the TV, or if you're at the game, at Zibanejad directly, shoot the puck, and he's passing it. He's trying to force the pass, and that almost never works.
So the counterpoint to this, and I forget what NHL player was on 32 Thoughts that Elliot asked him about this. They see the ice differently than us. We have different perspectives of the ice because we're looking at it from a top-down or an angled perspective where we can see more of what's going on around them. So what we're seeing is not what they're seeing, and it's hard to kind of remember that. And so maybe it does seem like he's passing out of shoot situations, but it's hard to entirely tell because you're never going to know what exactly they're seeing and how they read it, which is why whenever you hear a player talking about how they actually like to play, I find it so interesting. Like, for example, during the NASCAR race yesterday, there's a driver who's injured and wasn't able to race, but they had him on the broadcast. And the entire time he was talking about, well, in this situation, I would like to be doing this. I'd be on the radio saying, I want to do this in this situation. But if we can't do that, that's the type of stuff that until we get that from NHL players, well, when you're looking here, what are you seeing? That's the type of stuff that until we get, it's going to seem to us anecdotally watching TV or at the game, why aren't you shooting? Well, we don't see what they're seeing. So that's the counterpoint to that. You got to remember.
Nick, do you live on a different clock than everybody else? This man has like 18 podcasts that he's doing. He wrote that amazing article about Zibanejad and Fox earlier today. Like, and you're watching NASCAR. I mean, do you have more than 20
on yesterday?
Do you have more than 24 hours? Because like I want some of that. If you got more hours than we do, let me in on the secret. What's the secret, man?
There is no secret. I get like 7 hours of sleep. I've got 4 screens at my desk. Fifth one that was supposed to get delivered today, but it came in the box broken.
Got 5.
Well, the iPad I ordered from my desk
God.
came broken, so I got to bring that to the post office tomorrow and get a refund and get a new one. But yeah, we're trying to optimize our screen time, especially now that baseball's coming. You get the lulls in between pitches in baseball, which presents opportunities where you can be paying attention to other things. That's the thing. It's not how much time you have. It's what you do with your time.
Let it be known, this man has 5 screens, and he's wasting no time. He's got all of them on something.
There is always a frame of reference I can be making to something else, okay? There is always a frame of reference where if I'm thinking about this, what does this compare to? That is the way my brain works. And for the purposes of this exercise, that was my point. They see it a little bit differently than we do because we're looking at the game in a different perspective. And they also have, but sidebar, you mentioned this and it came to me. I still am thinking about that one scoring chance Kreider had where he was at the net mouth.
He was at the net, dude.
He was at the net and just... Like, I get it. I really do get it.
Man.
Mika and Kreider have had the Mean Girls thing where they break the crown up into 5 pieces and give it to everybody for like 4 years now. Yeah. That's always been the vibe. No, I want you to score. I love you so much, dude. Yeah. I want you to score. That's
He was
great, guys.
he was in the crease, dude,
Yes.
with the puck on
Ridiculous.
his stick, and there was nobody
A-
around him, and he passed. Dude,
absolutely
shoot the
ridiculous.
puck. I'm
Abs-
begging.
absolutely ridiculous. Last thing I want to get in before we start focusing specifically on the two Carolina games. You're starting to get the feeling now. Everybody's kind of settled in. They got to fix the power play. The power play has kind of been
Bad.
a mess for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And I understand they're still trying to acclimate everybody together, figure out if they're going to do a 50-50 split, if they're going to do 60-40, 70-30, who's going to play with who.
Well,
I get it.
they've tried the overload, and it just is bad. Like
It doesn't work. Yeah.
it has. You would think in a vacuum on paper that if you overload the first power play unit, that it would be unstoppable. Like it would have a 45% scoring rate, and like, it would be the most lethal power play in the NHL. It does look bad. It
Yeah.
has looked bad. They don't move. They haven't moved. They haven't like they will pass it around the perimeter, but they don't move themselves, and that doesn't.
That's a great point.
And they don't create open
Movement.
space in on the power play. So what ends up happening is you have the four defenders on the other team that are probably in a diamond or in some kind of perimeter defense, and the thing that you have to do on the power play is move it and move the puck a lot, but also move yourself a lot, so that the defenders get tired, and that creates passing opportunities, scoring opportunities. That creates
Or you get
more.
them out of position.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
If you're
right.
moving, you can make your opponent
Right.
move. That's the idea. That is the entire premise of having an extra person.
Exactly.
You have more numbers than they do.
Yes.
Make them move. Make 4 people cover the space of 5. If you are stagnant, the 4 guys get to stay where they are. You're not putting stress on them, and
that's what the first power play has not done at all.
Yeah.
They've done some passes. They've occasionally tried to shoot the puck at the net, but they haven't moved themselves around at all, really. And that has made the penalty kills job very easy because they don't have to move. You're not creating out of position opportunities. You're not making them work to get the puck out of the zone. And that's been their biggest problem, which you haven't seen a whole lot of if the power plays have been broken up into equally skilled units, which get equal, in theory, power play time. When you overload, at least for right now, the Rangers, if you put everybody on the first power play unit and say, hey, go have fun, nobody moves. There's a lot of passes, and it makes the penalty kills job very easy, and they got to break it up.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. The one thing that's kind of annoyed me this year, and this is whole year, this is like even before Kane and Tarasenko got here, they went away from the underneath stuff that really worked well for them last year. One of the things that worked for them really well would be when Fox would be at the point and he would skate inward, and that would bring a killer out to him. And then underneath, it would become 4-on-3 and an even tighter amount of space where you'd have Kreider at the net mouth, you'd have Strome near the net mouth, and you'd have Zibanejad for the pass and Panarin on the other side. And you're playing 4-on-3 and an even tighter space. And by having Fox skate inward and bait somebody out to him, you're creating a smaller amount of space for 4 players to be in, and you're creating more of those high danger opportunities. And I know Kreider was never going to have the power play luck he did last year. He had something ridiculous, like a 30-something% shooting percentage on the power play. And a lot of those are tips, deflections. Those are really hard plays to execute repeatedly. I understand that. But when you're struggling on the power play, you should be trying to get it simple to the point where, all right, get it to the net mouth, let our biggest, strongest guy bang at it in the front of the goalie. And if it goes in, great. If not, we're going to be right back there. The Kreider is one of the most physically gifted players in the entire league. He is an absolute monster of a human. What's the Adam Fox tweet? Kreider's a meat market? Something like that from like 2011, something like that. Go to the net mouth, let your biggest, strongest player bang at the other team's defense, and go to work. It doesn't just have to be the pretty cross-seam stuff. I get that that's what they're really good at, but at some level, when it's not working, you got to have your second, your third, your fourth ways of scoring, and that's a great way to segue to Carolina. Anything else you want to get in on this real quick before we go to that topic?
I know it won't happen, but maybe if I cross my fingers enough, it'll happen one day. Can we get Keandre Miller to to quarterback the second power play unit instead of Truba? Can
I
this
don't
be
think
it?
they want him to. I think they want
I
somebody to
under
shoot from that
clearly they
point.
don't because they haven't tried it, but like whatever Truba's doing isn't really helping either.
No. He shoots low percentage scoring. He's a low percentage guy. I mean, I remember reading an article Travis Yost wrote the first year Truba was here, and before Truba played a game as a Ranger in that summer when they gave him the extension. Of the 5 players in the entire league who took the most shots with the lowest shooting percentage, 2 of them were Rangers that year. It was Truba and Shattenkirk. Shattenkirk's one year where he played, like 40, 50 games before they shut him down with the torn meniscus.
He
Truba's
should,
always been a low
which
volume
by the
shooter.
way, I mean, why
We're
did
not
he play?
relating history.
Why did he play? If it was injured the
Andrew,
whole season, that's
Andrew, no
that's.
content for
I'm
the
still
summer and
mad
the
about
season.
it. I'm still mad. It's fine. Everything's
Andrew,
fine. I'm mad
no
about it.
out
It's
of
okay.
content season, no out of season content in season.
It's fine. I'm still mad about it. It's fine.
I understand. Okay, so switching up gears to talk specifically about why the Rangers in Carolina. So we've talked about it ad nauseum. You're going to hear me reiterate it again. When the Rangers are on defense, they want the other team to shoot. What does Carolina love to do, Andrew?
Shoot
When the
from anywhere.
Rangers when the Rangers allow other teams to just funnel pucks on net from outside the circles, the point, the Rangers are able to get their really good goalie, Igor Shesterkin, to make a save, recover the puck, break out, go the other way. The entire way Carolina wants to play the game sets up in a way for the Rangers to succeed. And you're going to hear me read it from here. So in the regular season over the last 2 years, they're 4-4 head to head. No overtime losses for either team. In those games, the Rangers have 38% of the scoring chances, 44% of the goals, 35% of the expected goals, 35% of the high danger goals, a 10% shooting percentage, and a 912 save percentage. The deciding factor and the reason the Rangers have won in the regular season, the Rangers have 6 power play goals. That is the difference between winning and losing in the regular season. In the playoffs, that's where it gets a little bit more interesting. 43%, 57% of the goals. That tells you they're getting crazy goaltending or crazy shooting. And guess what, Andrew? In the playoffs last year, 95% save percentage in the playoffs. When you let the other team just shoot on the really good goalie, the really good goalie is going to stop the low percentage shots that Carolina's entire team is built upon. That's why, like you said, the Rangers looked pretty good, even though they got outchanced roughly on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, even though it was like, I want to say it was like 12-3 scoring chances after the first period, something egregious like that. I still didn't feel that bad about it because none of Carolina's chances were that dangerous. You felt pretty good about the goaltending. It was just a matter of would the offense be able to get going? And then once the offense got its feet under it, once Hedel and Kakko got going there, the kid line always plays well against Carolina because they're the one line the Rangers have. And I'll be fair, the fourth line as well, that's willing to just dump the puck and cycle and keep working it. Whereas the top 6 want to do the cross seam stuff, go out there fast. Kid line doesn't mind getting dirty. They'll go below the goal line and win those puck battles down low. They'll create offense the hard way. That is why the Rangers succeed so often against Carolina. Even though the underlying numbers skew heavily in Carolina's favor, it's because the Rangers want those games to go that way. And it just reminded me of something you tweeted the other day that I want to talk about. So go ahead and then we can bring that up.
The biggest fear that I have as a fan of not the Hurricanes is that eventually the owner will want to spend money and that they will acquire premium scoring talent. Because if you put a pure sniper or a couple of pure snipers on that roster, they will dominate the NHL.
Like, best I can do is Derek Stepan.
Yeah, right. And Paul Stastny. Like the thing about the Carolina Hurricanes is that they dominate puck possession. And that's wonderful. Normally, when you have the puck more than the other team, you tend to win more games. The problem with their team, even with Svechnikov, is that they don't have the top pure elite scoring talent.
They don't have finishers.
They don't have the finishers that complements that style of hockey. They have a lot of players that fit well in that system and will play that kind of, Corsi battle forever. They will just hold the puck and they will just shoot forever and ever and ever. But they don't have that elite sniper that will take them over the edge. And Carolina, for better or for worse, for better for us because for in the rest of the
It's
league.
one less thing to worry
Yeah,
about.
it's you don't have to worry about the Hurricanes from that perspective. But if you're a Hurricanes fan, eventually you have to think to yourself like, why isn't this team just getting snipers? Why isn't this team going out and getting elite scoring talent that can really push this team from a playoff team into a true title contender? Because if you have a lot of these guys that can control the possession and control play, all you need is one or two elite finishers to really make that a scary team, a very scary team. Because right now they can put up 40 shots on goal, but if 38 of them are stoppable shots, then who cares?
It's why
It doesn't matter how many shots they get on goal if most of them have little to no chance of going in the net. If you have, I mean, this is just like off the top of my head. Like if they got Timo Meyer as
yeah.
a like if they got him to fit into the top six, that's a much scarier team. Timo Meyer is a great player, but he's a really good finisher, and that's somebody that they really needed to fit that system. They need finishers. They didn't get those, and yeah, like the Hurricanes can skate circles in the offensive zone and shoot at Shesterkin's pad 12 times in one shift, but that's not going in the net. So
No.
who can like what difference does it make?
Yeah, no, I forget if it was Fitz who called them called them Corsi merchants first, but that's what they are. They've got great underlying numbers, but in the playoffs, that approach has historically not worked. You need the dangerous scoring chances, and you need timely goaltending, which Carolina was not able to get in the playoffs as well. So the thing you had tweeted the other day was about how the Rangers always let the other team score first, and I have a visual here for this because I found it interesting. So when the Rangers are tied game situation, negative expected goals, so below average and below average offensively and defensively. When they are down one, that is when the Rangers get going. The evidence bears out that they are better when they are down a goal. And I think it speaks to what I mentioned in the opening segment where we talked about what the ideal game state looks like. So what does it look like for when you're playing, when you want to play the way the Rangers are playing? You want the other team to be taking crappy shots. They're not going to take a lot of chances when you're playing with a lead. When you have a 1-goal lead, your defensemen are going to be a little more passive. They're going to be a little more reticent to pinch in the offensive zone to create a scoring chance. They're going to be more inclined to be lax, to be defensive first. And that plays into the way the Rangers want to open these games up. They're going to be able to create more offense when the other team is more passive. And we know what the NHL coaches love to do. They love to protect leads. How do they love to protect leads? By not playing offense anymore. That's
The
exactly
turtle.
how
Oh baby, the
the
turtle.
turtle. They want to turtle because they feel that is the lowest risk way to drag a game out to a state where they can win. The Rangers play well when the game is open ended and they can trade chances back and forth. When teams are in that turtle posture where they are not being aggressive, where they are trying to minimize risk, that is where you can catch them flat-footed or going the other way, where you can hit that crossing pass in the offensive zone because their defensemen are going to be a little closer to the net trying to play to block the shot as opposed to blocking the pass. So I do think there is something there. I don't think that they're consciously saying, hey, let's go down a goal so we can get the game to go the way we want to.
That would be
And
wild though. Hey, if Jared Gallant goes into the locker room and says, "All right, boys, give up the first goal and then the game starts," like that would be wild.
because I'm trying to think of a comparison where you kind of get the other team to do what you want to do. And the closest thing I could think of is in football, where if you line up with certain personnel, that's going to get the other team to be like, oh, they have this number of players that do this. We need this number of players to do that. It's that kind of idea, but I can't think of an exact one-to-one to another sport that'll make this make sense more than just the deranged rantings of a 26-year-old. But for the purposes of this conversation, the Rangers play really well when they are down a goal because the other team is more of defense first, and they are not trying to create offense as much, which plays to the Rangers' defensive strengths. Because as we've talked about, they have one defenseman who's really good at breaking out of the zone right now. The other one is injured and may or may not have his arm attached to his body. We have not got confirmation on that. So when the game state is in a way that favors the Rangers, they typically play a lot better. That visual is this visual, and I'll flash it up here again. You think about it. In a tie game, they're not taking a lot of risks offensively. They're creating below average. And then defensively, they're not conceding a lot, which is good, But at the same time, if you're not conceding anything, but you're not creating any offense, that presents an issue because you're not trying to change the game state. You are being passive. Down one, you are getting to the net mouth. They are in the areas you want to be scoring from when they are down a goal. They are at the net mouth. They're in the high slot, the dangerous areas. And then when you see when they're up a goal, the Rangers, they love them a turtle too. They concede 12% more expected goals against when they are up a goal. That speaks again to the turtle phenomena that we've discussed ad nauseum.
If you go back to the graph for a second here, it's interesting to look at what the graph looks like when they're down 2 goals. When they're
Yeah.
down 2 goals, it is all offense all of the time, and no one's playing defense. Their expected goals against goes up 28%. Like
Yeah.
if they are down 2, there is zero defense being played. They are 100%. We will send Braden Schneider on a breakaway. We will send Brent Harper on a breakaway. It doesn't matter. There's no one on the blue line to defend. It doesn't matter. We have Shesterkin. Everything is fine. All 5 forwards in the offensive zone. All 5 players in the offensive zone, I should say, at all times. Nothing else matters. I just find that interesting.
Oh, by the way, somebody on the coaching staff needs to tell Ben Harper to stop taking wrist shots from the point that are unscreened. He's good for one of those every single game. And like Ben, I get it. You're trying to keep them honest. It's a heat check. But bro, you're in the offensive zone with puck control. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. What's the Patrick Ewing clip? Is that your shot? Do you work on that shot? Do you ever take that shot? No. Ben, you do not take that shot anymore. That's not your shot. If you're winning by 3 goals, you're losing by 3 goals, go ahead. But in a close game, Ben, just
if you're down 3 goals and you're taking unscreened shots from the blue line that are easily stopped by the goaltender, then get off the ice. Like if you're down by so many goals and you just want to get something going and that's your way of getting it done, go sit down. Like that's,
it's frustrating.
There's better ways of creating offense than shooting a wrister from the blue line that the goalie sees all the way and makes an easy save. And not only that, it's one thing to take a shot like that and maybe hope for a rebound or some kind of tip in or whatever.
Where in the chest does nothing.
Right. And the biggest problem with that is there's a whistle.
Yeah.
All of the offensive pressure that you just had in the offensive zone, it's over. And there's a face-off. I mean, if you win the face-off and you get possession going, but you got to restart the whole process of getting that pressure back, because once the face-off starts, you got to do the whole up. Right. You got to do the whole process all over again, and there's no need for it if you have the puck in the offensive zone and the puck is on your stick, in the blue line, and you have 4 other players around you that can just get a better shot on goal. You throwing it at the goalie's logo for a face-off doesn't do a whole lot. It doesn't do a whole lot.
Correct. All right. So Thursday is going to be fun. I am going to gaslight myself into being convinced the game will be fun as opposed to stressful. I'm going on Thursday. The Sean Avery jersey behind me will be on my back. We're going to have ourselves an afternoon in New Jersey on Thursday. I'm very excited for it. I, for one, am starting to buy in a little bit more than I was, say, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, because they're getting the goalie going at the exact time they kind of needed him to snap out of it, because it's not like he was playing terribly, but he is very steadily climbing up the goals saved above expected leaderboard. He was, I think, 14th at the start of February. He's up to 7th now. He is making the gradual climb up to where he should be, top 5 in the league, where you would expect him to be most years. The power play needs to get sorted out, but the goaltending is getting there. The 5-on-5 play over the last 15 games is getting there. Everything is trending in the right direction, and Thursday is either going to be what I imagine Thursday will be is a chaotic back and forth track meet with a lot of scoring chances going both ways. I don't know if you remember or not the first Rangers Devils game last year after the deadline, the first game that Mott and Justin Braun played, where the Rangers had a really good first period. And then I think they were up 2-0, and then the Devils tied the game at 2-2, and then the Devils ended up winning that game, I think 7-4, something ridiculous like that. That's the type of environment I imagine that game's going to be played in on Thursday, where it's going to be a lot of up and down, back and forth. Which goalie is going to be able to make a save that they probably shouldn't make, steal a save, steal a goal from the other team, and can you find a way to limit the Devils' best players. I talked about this with somebody over the weekend about just how good the season Jack Hughes is having. Jack Hughes should be a Hart finalist. Like,
He
legitimately, he
should be.
should
Yeah,
be
yeah, of
one of the three finalists. Like, it's McDavid's award to win. Obviously,
course.
he's going to have 160 points. He might
Yeah.
hit 60 goals. Jack Hughes deserves real recognition for the
Mhm.
seasons he's having with the Devils, and he always kills the Rangers. Jack Hughes has really good numbers historically in games against the Rangers. I'm going to pull it up right here and throw it over to you for a second while I'm doing that.
Yeah, like the thing about the Devils is that they know how to use their speed to kind of, I don't want to say skate by certain players, but skate by certain players, especially when not Adam Fox is on the ice. Because if bro, the worst nightmare of all time is Ben Harper on the ice and he sees Jack Hughes like he has to defend
Jack
Jack
Hughes
Hughes in
going to
a
be the
1v1.
Shaq
Like,
barbecue chicken alert. Yeah,
dude,
that's what Jack
yeah,
Hughes
yeah,
sees.
like all Jack Hughes needs to do is kind of breathe, and he's by Ben Harper. Like the and again, we I'm not trying to hate on Ben Harper the individual. As a player, he's very slow.
He's
It
slow,
doesn't.
yes.
You don't need an analytics chart to tell you that. Just watch him play. My man's is slow. He is very slow. Jack Hughes, if he has the puck on his stick and Ben Harper's on the ice, good luck. Shesterkin, Igor, listen, I love you, pal. You got to get Ben out of this because Ben ain't getting Ben out of this.
Yeah, no, I looked it up. Jack Hughes, 14 points in 15 games against the Rangers. So, yeah, the numbers speak to it. Jack Hughes, very good at hockey. Thursday, the other thing I'm looking to see, can the Rangers get one of the other lines going against the Devils? That's a problem they've had against the Devils, especially where if the high end guys, like if Zibanejad and Kreider, aren't scoring, the kid line has not played historically well against the Devils, haven't been able to get a ton of production out of them. Can they get contributions from the secondary scoring? The Rangers' fourth line is better than the Devils' fourth line. Can you get a Mott or a Gaudreau or a Veezy goal in the game on Thursday? And I know the way we're talking about this is
That's Devil's legend, Jimmy Visa to you, Nick. Come on.
yeah, hey man, Jimmy Vesey started out on the Devils' fourth line last year, and now he's on a team that has legitimate cup aspirations. Don't quit your dreams. Even though if I were Jimmy Vesey's agent last year, I would have been like, bro, you got a business degree from Harvard. Just go get a finance job. It's a lot less stressful. You won't get CTE sitting
Yeah.
at a desk, Jimmy.
He'll
Any
get paid
financial
less though.
yeah, but any
So
financial firm would love to he played in the NHL. He's
that's
on our
right. That's right.
he's
That's right.
your financial services manager. He played in the NHL. He's got benefits. He drives a Benz.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Jimmy
No,
Vesey,
the hey, come here. We have a former NHL player stat through the roof. I mean, you would get a line out the door to get to do business with Jimmy V. So you kidding me?
yeah, no, definitely. The other part of the game on Thursday that I want to see how this Rangers team does against an actually good team. It's been a few weeks since they have played a team that is legitimately good. They beat up on Pittsburgh. They beat up Florida. Carolina is a pretty good team. Low scoring, difficult to find offense, but that's kind of how those games go because Carolina is going to take a lot of shots. The Rangers aren't going to take as many. The game is always going to be kind of a drag out, kind of stressful environment. And then you throw in the laughers against the bad teams like Nashville. What do the Rangers do in this first game where they're all kind of settled in against a really good team that plays a style that is going to put stress on your weak points? The Devils are a very fast team. They play in transition with a lot of speed. They're going to get pucks to the dangerous areas. So the Devils and Carolina have been top five in most of the metrics all year. The Devils do it with volume and quality. It's not just like Carolina, where Carolina just throws it at the net from everywhere. The Devils do that, but they also get the puck down low. They get the puck below the goal line. They use their speed to open up lanes in the defensive zone. Like, God help. I'm the one concern I have is the Trouba Miller pairing because against the Devils, they have had a rough go of it the last couple of times, and that's because the Devils are so fast. We talk about how Trouba and Miller need to be communicating with each other, where okay, you're going with puck, I'm on net, or vice versa, because that's where all their breakdowns come from, is not passing guys off to each other properly, and that's where they get into trouble. They have been a lot better the last few weeks. Trouba is almost at 50% of the goal share. He was at 42% at the start of the month of February. He's up to 47% at 5-on-5. That is a real significant increase in a 1 month span. To go from being almost 40% of the goals to 47% of goals. That is a real significant increase. And it says, A, they're getting a little bit luckier goaltending, but the goaltending was never going to be as bad as it was the first half of the season, and that they're not conceding as much. They're still conceding more than they probably should from what's supposed to be your defense first pair, but they are at least conceding at a rate that is manageable where they're going to be able to trade offense and defense relatively equally with who they're playing.
I just don't want to see a goal against in which like Miller is guarding somebody in the top of the left circle and then Trouba's like at the boards. Like I don't want to see that kind of goal again because whenever that happens, and again, like I say this multiple times on the show, but I just want to reiterate, like it's not like we do this because we enjoy talking, blankety blank about Trouba, and to a certain extent, like Kandre Miller has been way better than Trouba, but like that pair in and of itself, there's a lot of like just low lights contributed to that pair a lot of the times
For two
where
talented players, they
yeah,
make a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
mistakes.
Like exactly. For players that are way better than they have been playing, they may the mistakes that they've been making, you can clip from a game and you
Yeah.
watch that and you go like, what was their thought process? Where are they? Like there's throughout the course of the season, there would be somebody standing in front of the net for the other team. The Boston goal that we talked about a few weeks ago, where Charlie Coyle literally just skates behind Trouba. Trouba has not a single clue what's going on in front of him, and Coyle just skates by and scores. And Trouba
Yeah, no,
just has
Trouba thought the puck was still behind the net. He
right,
was
like
looking behind the
yeah,
net, and he just never turned around.
he had no idea Coyle was behind him. Like that's the kind of mistake that really bothers me watching Trouba play. It's just like, dude, like this is not the kind of thing that
Spatial
should be happening.
awareness. Come on.
Yeah, like he's been better the last couple of weeks, and hopefully we can stop talking negatively about it. Like I would want nothing else than for Trouba to actually be worth that contract and for him to be good defensively. I would love that. Maybe to some people like might think the contrary and think that like we love talking blankety blank about Jacob Trouba, but just like dude, I would love for Trouba to win the Norris. Like we don't understand. Like it pains me to talk so negatively about Jacob Trouba, but the fact of the matter is that watching him play and all of the, let's just say, questionable decisions he makes in the defensive zone warrants these types of conversations. But to your point, to his credit, he has been playing better. I just am hoping from the bottom of my heart that this isn't just a 2-week stretch or a 3-week stretch and that this continues on to the playoffs.
Trouba's a high leverage player. Every decision he makes is extremely risky, and the impact it's going to have on the determining play, where if it goes right, they're going to get the puck back and go the other way, or they're going to go completely around him. He loves lining someone up in the neutral zone for a hit, entirely missing, and then the person just goes around him. Like teams line him up. Like I don't have the microstat chart in front of me, but teams target Trouba for zone entries the most of the 6 Ranger defensemen because they know he's going to take the risk and risk being out of position to go for the hit. When you are scouted to that degree where teams know, hey, he's going to line you up for the big hit, you just got to avoid it, and then you're in 2-on-1. That tells you that, hey, maybe you need to change your decision-making process. But because he plays such that high leverage style, it's always going to be that high risk reward. And that's why the range of outcomes are so stark, where he can get really good results for a week or two because he gets some good luck on those gambles he takes. That's really the thing, especially with anything like that, where it comes to decision-making and variance, is it's going to ebb and flow over the course of a season. There are just too many outcomes for it to consistently hold one way or the other, because they really are just 50-50 propositions. Is he going to make the play on the puck or not? Okay, last thing before we get out of here, you and I had a disagreement about this. I would like the lines to be I could go for one more last line reconfiguration before the playoffs, because they've got 9 games to kind of figure out if anything is better, and they can always come back to this, because this is fine. The top 9 they have, and by default the top 12, because the fourth line staying the fourth line. The forward group they have is playing pretty well right now at 5-on-5. I do think there's a better combination of forwards somewhere in that top 9, though.
I don't disagree necessarily, especially like if you want to try things out against Columbus or against, another team that isn't like the Rangers don't have to send all their horsepower to beat. You could try and just see what sticks. The concern that I have in regards to that is, okay, well, the fourth line is saying the fourth line that's not going anywhere. Hopefully not going anywhere. Please, Goudreau, stay there. I beg. Gerard, Gerard, please just keep Goudreau there. I beg of you. The fourth line is there. Okay, the kid line has its ebbs and flows. There have been games where they've dominated, and I think they scored the 3 out of the 4 goals against the Florida Panthers. Like
Yes.
they were clearly the best line out there. They played very well. Like they were dominating possession. Like they just had a really strong game. And then there's other times where they're completely invisible. Like they don't get anything done. So they are kind of a hot and cold line, I would say. But the top six, Gerard Gallant made the switch today of putting Panarin out without Kane again, which is the right thing to do. This is what dream. Hey now, this is what dreams are made of, because all Panarin would do with Kane to try to pass it to Kane. Hopefully that doesn't happen anymore. So with that, I like this line configuration right now with Panarin and Kane on 2 different lines. That is the ideal for me. So the fourth line stays the fourth line. I guess keep the kid line together for now because they had such a strong game against Florida. Why? Like I don't. Maybe just try new things against Columbus. See what's like. See if somebody gets some chemistry with somebody. Put Kane with Heedle. Do it against Columbus. Do it. Why not? But against a team like New Jersey, if that doesn't work, go back to what did.
Yeah, I have had in my head for a while. I would like to see Kreider with Zibanejad with Kako. I would like to see Heedle in between Panarin and Kane. I would like to see Tarasenko with Lafreniere and Trocheck. I've had that top 9 in my head for a while now because it's predicated upon maximizing Heedle, maximizing Panarin and Kane by giving them a center who's going to be able to keep up with the way they want to play. Trocheck is having a solid counting stat season, but he does not impact offense to the same degree that a Kane, Panarin, Kreider, or Zibanejad does. Trocheck's a good player. He doesn't have the high end skills of the guys I just mentioned to kind of impact offense to the degree that you could get more out of Panarin and Kane by giving them a center with more high end skills. The way especially the last month or so, the way Heedle's kind of been locked in. When Heedle is dialed in, man, he's really starting to kind of, I don't want to say figure it out because that's doing him a disservice because he's already, I think, 4 years, 5 years into the league at this point. But he's really kind of getting to the point now where he's impacting the game in a way you would expect somebody to be in your top 6. And having that on your third line is a luxury. And the reason I would advocate breaking up the kid line, and even if this is just for experimental purposes over the next month or so, is kid line trades chances. In the playoffs, that is going to get them benched for long periods of time, and they're going to need that line to contribute offensively come the playoffs because you're going to need at least 3 lines contributing. The ideal circumstances is everything keeps working. You got 4 lines, and they all contribute goals. The fourth line has been really good over the last month and a half. I talked about it last week. It's still true after 3 more games. Jimmy Vesey and Tyler Mott have the most high danger scoring chances per 60 minutes of any forwards on the team. Yes, they play the least amount of ice time, so their numbers are going to be a little skewed. They're doing it against worse competition, but they are getting good results in their 10, 11 minutes of even strength ice time. That's really encouraging. Trying to get at least 2 of your 4 lines going consistently should be the minimum. Then you start worrying about, okay, we're in the second, the third round against really good times. I would like to see a way if we get 3 lines. You get 3 lines going, then you're really cooking with gas. You think about all the teams that have won the cup the last couple of years, they really set themselves apart with the depth scoring. They have quality pieces up and down their lineup. I think this Rangers team has enough components that they can get to that point for a few weeks over the course of a playoff run. What that configuration looks like, I gave you my candidates. This is fine for now, but I do think you can get this group to a higher ceiling by finding a more optimal configuration.
I don't disagree. Like you can definitely you could go to again if you want to do that against Columbus or even against the Sabres to a certain extent because the chances of them making it right now are pretty slim. If you want to try things out against teams like that, go right ahead. And if something sticks, if Kane and Heedle or whoever, insert pair here or trio here have a really good game and they look great, then keep it going. But if it doesn't work, then just revert back to what worked against the really good. If you're playing a really good team, if you try out a line blender on the top 9 against Columbus, and maybe one thing works, but the other things don't, change everything but the one thing that worked and then try it against New Jersey. Like the that game is important, I guess, from a seeding perspective. The Rangers want to win that game. It's New Jersey, sure, but they don't have a ton to play for. So I guess in a macro sense, like if you really wanted to try things out against New Jersey, you could, because the Rangers, the unders aren't catching them. Pittsburgh isn't catching them. They are firmly at least secured in that third spot. So that's kind of the worst they can do at this point. So if you wanted to try things against New Jersey, it wouldn't be my first option, but I wouldn't necessarily hate it. I can see the vision by just trying things out every game, no matter what. And also, it might benefit the Rangers from trying things out against the really good teams, because if something works against a really good team, that's a really good sign.
Yeah.
So if Jargalant wants to try things out for these next few games, I that's fine. As long as you don't do some silly things, silly shenanigans come playoff time, then we'll have that conversation when we get to it. But if you want to put things in a blender and just throw things at the wall and see what sticks in these last 9 games, how about it?
Yeah, no, that'll just about do it for this week's episode. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast, all the major podcasting platforms. We're over on YouTube if you're more inclined to enjoy the video type of thing. Make sure you follow along on the show's socials at Liberty Blue Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Andrew and I. Andrew's handle is Chelney Andrew, Chelney Andrew. Mine is at Nick Zararis, Nick Cararis. You can follow all of my deranged rantings at all hours of the night. Hope everyone has a good week. Rangers can come to their playoff spot tonight if Buffalo loses and Florida loses in regulation.
Great.
So got homework for tonight. So
Sure.
We'll see you guys next week. And the Rangers will be in a playoff spot by the next time we record. So we didn't mess up the first part of the season.
Love that. We're in.